Bigger, bolder, faster. Boom, I'm going to the maximum. I'm going to the maximum.
And here we are again. All right. So this is how to build and grow successful community for your Metaverse project. Let's jump right into it. Melissa, let's start with you. Can you please give us a little background on yourself and maybe something you're really optimistic about when it comes to community in the Metaverse?
Thank you so much. I think communities are it is actually a very underestimated byproduct of crypto and blockchain, but it's kind of like brought a totally new way of organizational structure for the society. And my profession is to build community-owned business models. I work with a lot of early-age startups to build crypto projects, and generally, I'm now trying to convert traditional business models into more community-oriented, community-owned and led business models, basically. My community based in Bali, that's where I'm living, is 21, stands for Satoshi 21, million digital supply. It's a community basically inspired by the actual social and organizational values that came with blockchain. So we are tech-oriented people, crypto professionals, which happen to be the biggest community in Bali. And we are trying to promote these values each time we are talking about. And that's why I'm very optimistic about communities. I think the blockchain, core open blockchain values are going to be the biggest chance for us to thrive as a humanity.
Thank you so much for sharing. Saddam, please share with us.
So actually, my major and background is not finance or technology. My background is nursing, but Web3 and community make me on board to more bigger chances, and I can like brand myself personally in this new scene. I define community as a supporters of new chances and possibilities, and that's why I was able to onboard to Web3, even though I have no like similar major or backgrounds like finance and technology. And mostly, I'm working as a community builder. I used to build many community space in China and Korea. And also, like, I used to attend as a DAO member too. And these days, I'm working as a community manager in a company called Blockcore. They are a blockchain VC based in Singapore and work in Korea. And they had invested early in the Animoca brands and the Sandbox. Thank you.
Wonderful. Justin, please tell us a bit about yourself and what you're optimistic about when it comes to community in the Metaverse.
Yeah, so a little bit of background about ourselves. I'm Justin. I'm a co-founder at Katarina. We basically build gaming communities in high schools and colleges across the world. And I think one of the things I'm really excited by about emerging technology like Web3 and the blockchain is how it enables much more global communities than before. It allows people from all over the world to participate wherever and whenever. And that's something like, it's like if you go back like 10 years from now, like 20 years from now, it was very unheard of from people in the Philippines or people from Southeast Asia to be able to contribute to a lot of these global movements the way that people are right now. So I think like Web3 and in general, like one of the coolest breakthroughs of the last like couple of years is just the opportunities that people in the emerging market have to participate at a global scale.
Zeneca, good to have you on another
Good to be
panel.
back. I'm Zeneca. I have been in Web3 for about 18 months. I founded a community called Zen Academy, which is, we have a strong focus on education and creating content about Web3 and NFTs. And everyone on the panel has given such great answers already. I really resonate with what Justin said about how Web3 and communities really are making the world smaller and just allowing people to connect on a global scale, which we've always been able to do with the internet, but now with NFTs or with crypto, it allows like this more meaningful connection with ownership, and I think that is probably the biggest unlock for me. So honestly, I'm optimistic about everything to do with that, communities in this space.
Melissa, I wanted to ask you, what are the benefits of building and growing a community for a Metaverse project?
I need to say I'm not the person who builds communities on Metaverse, so I'm just going to talk generally about the Web3 benefits. So I think I'm going to go back to the basics of the Web3 crypto and blockchain communities. What's specific about these communities? What is the difference than the traditional way of organizations, basically? And without that, I think it's very hard to understand any Web3 initiative. We're talking about self-sovereignty, data sovereignty, and with Web 5, now we're going to talk about the identity sovereignty, self-sovereign identities. And these concepts actually really needed to be understood for us to be able to leverage these technologies for the benefit of any community. And the biggest benefits of the when we are talking about it, it comes with a big opportunity for education, collective learning, and building products that is basically going to create value for as many as possible. And that has been changing the last 10, 15 years. So when we are talking about blockchain and crypto projects generally, I think we should keep in mind a whole business model changing actually the last 15 years. In a way that now we are talking about not only a value proposition to convince your investors to and your employees to build a product, but you need to convince so many people because you need to come up with a value proposition that comes with so many opportunities for so many people. And that's going to be the core of any community. And also, when you're doing that, you are actually having investors, contributors to your project, and not only beneficiaries, not only the classic client base, but also these are your marketers, these are your contributors, and they are not interacting with your product and with your company, but they're also interacting with each other. So I think the biggest benefit is to think about it as building a whole ecosystem and a total different societal situation, and it's very inspiring and very exciting.
What do you think are some of the best ways to attract people to a community?
So I think the best way to attract more people is to support more creators and builders, of course, because I believe that the difference from Web 2 and Web 3 communities, many people can find possible chances, more possibilities and more chances in this scene. And I used to make many communities that support creators so that they can have more chance to brand themselves in this scene. And then if they can have more creations that can use Web3 to show more people, I think that can be a good onboarding to people from Web 2 to Web 3. So I think, yeah, supporting the creator is a good idea and a chance to make more people come into this community. Thank you.
Justin, can we talk a bit about engagement? So you go through the process, you decide I'm going to build this community, you attract a bunch of people into it. What have you seen that's really worked well when it comes to getting people engaged and keeping them engaged with a community around metaverse development?
Well, at least in the case of our community, people in our community come together because they want to grow gaming in their school. They want to grow esports programs in their school. So first of all, it's like a lot of people join because they're attracted by the mission, but you make them stay by allowing them to do things that actually tangibly contribute to what your mission's all about. So for us, for example, where we like to call ourselves a participative ecosystem. For most gaming communities or most gaming platforms, all you really do is you participate in tournaments, you attend their events, and usually that's the end of that. But with the Academy ecosystem and with a lot of like more community-focused companies now, we actually help train the students who participate in our programs and help them run their own programs, run their own events, grow their own communities inside their school, because so that they can then see the fruits of their labor. It's actually something that they used to call, it was like when they were growing Twitch back in the day, they called it achievable milestones. So when you allow people to actually have achievable milestones and see the efforts of their work in ways that are not just like seeing token price go up or like when next drop, it's like you can actually, like they can actually feel more rewarded and feel more invested as a result.
Zeneca, can you talk about some of the pitfalls that happen in community building?
Yeah, I think a big one in Web3 especially is kind of against going to what Justin was saying, is if you get too wrapped up in the money or the financial side of things, and if you attract people because you think that, if people think they're going to make money off your community, that's like, it's a really attractive incentive mechanism, but if that's the only reason people are there, it's like this fair weather community, or it's like community built on sand, not a community built on rock. And it's like, if you really want to attract a strong community and build a strong community, you have to be about more than just making money. And I think a lot of community builders, founders, as well as like participants, they maybe get distracted, or they focus too much on the financial side of things, which is of course important, and everyone wants to make money, and there's ownership, and Web3 is about that. But if that's all that you're about, I think that's a pitfall that people should be wary of.
Yeah, if I could add something quick there, it's like, I feel like one of the biggest pitfalls too in terms of like Web3 community marketing is that people seem to think that if you're a holder of a token or NFT, you're a member of the community. That's not the case. It's like, you can be an investor and a community member, or you can be a community member or an investor, but they're not mutually inclusive of each other. It's like, just because you hold a token
Really
doesn't mean you're part of the community. Just because you're wanting the price to go up or down doesn't mean you're part of the community. You're either liquidity or a holder, and in which case, like, if you're not really actively engaging with the product or the actual community, then that means you're not a community member, you're an investor. It's just like if, for example, if you're holding like Apple stock, you're not a part of the Apple community, you're an Apple investor. So I think like one thing that the space has to get better at is clearly delineating community members and investors.
100%.
Melissa, would you like to jump in and say anything about what the other folks have said? I think let's just kind of have a dialogue amongst us for a moment.
Yes, this is really important to not having the investor, because I think to understand the real value of this, it is important to understand how was it before, and what benefits it brings, basically. In the previously dominant system, it was basically investors, business executors, the dreamers who need capital to actually build their business, and then the consumers. And then once you convince those people to give you the capital to build your project, which is already a strange relationship now that we have a much bigger liberty, then you need to, these big companies pay a lot of money to market research companies to extract data, to run the surveys, to manipulate the market behavior in a way that they want to create one single behavior, that is the purchase behavior. And it doesn't mean that this is actually just, this is really good for the clients. And then they build, if it any good and a little bit better, then they want to build brand loyalty. So this is a total modular structure. And it's one way from the business to the client. And now this whole model is changing. And that's why as builders, as investors, we need to keep that distinction in mind and create some sort of a paradigm shift for ourselves, because it's a total different mindset. So now, and also in this previous model, if you have a good marketing, you could sell anything. And then maybe your business disappears, but eventually you would make money and leave. Now this is super hard. You need to actually come up with a value proposition and deliver it. And it's a double-edged sword. If you fulfill that, then you have an army of investors, contributors, clients, that's different sort of business partners that can actually leverage your business, which is no longer your business, but it's kind of a collective product for everyone. and that can actually create like a bigger value that you can never imagine. But if you try to act with the same way and like try to just get the money and like not deliver the product and everything, then you have that army that can turn against you, and which usually creates the lack of credibility for the whole system. So I think when we think about this distribution of power and decentralization, we really need to understand the responsibility that comes with that. And it distributes that responsibility to every single investor, client, contributor of Web3 space. So this is really important to keep it in mind, I think.
Great insights. Saddam, do you have any thoughts on that?
So mostly I agree with this opinion, and also as a community manager, I find many people are thinking that because I invest this project, I'm the holder, I'm the community member, but actually the real community members that I believe make more contents and make more values outside, not only inside this community. They show out what they can do to others. They show out what they have, what they learn in this community, not only inside. So that's why I usually make many contents out, and show out more contents that people can enjoy in the community. In the community. So I believe that many people should think, if you are thinking as a community member, you not only inside but more go out and show outside to other people.
Justin, I'm going to come back to you in just a second to talk about youth. Can we talk about education, Zeneca? So you have Zeneca Academy. You're actively succeeding in educating people on Web3, and we're talking about community in the metaverse. Can you talk about what does it take to educate people? What have you learned through that process? And when you think about educating people on community development for the metaverse, what is the easiest way to go about doing that? And what are some hurdles that we'd want to avoid?
Yeah, wow. There's a lot to unpack there, and in the interest of keeping it short, I'll say education is obviously incredibly important in life, in Web3, in everything. And because of how complicated the subject matter of Web3, the blockchain is, and how high the stakes are, like if you make a mistake, you can lose all your money, you can use your assets, you can lose real money. Security is probably the most important thing to teach people. And I really found that it is difficult to educate someone that doesn't want to be educated. So I think going out there and trying to like convince people about Web3 and trying to tell all your friends you have to get in is not the right approach. It's about waiting till someone has a genuine curiosity about this because they've learned about it themselves. Maybe their work is introducing it, or they saw it on TV or the internet and they're like, hey, I'm curious about Web3, how do I get started? And then they come to you, and then you can educate them about. There's so much to educate them, and you really need to hold their hand and take them through the process, and that's why it's so difficult to onboard new people. But I think it's really important to make sure to wait till someone comes to you and has a genuine curiosity. And the other thing I will say is maybe, again, to not focus on the financial side of things, because it's so risky, it's so speculative. Really try and teach people about the fundamental technology and the paradigm shift and the revolution that can happen through this space, and then, educate one by one.
That's great. So we're going to get ready to wrap up our panel. And the last thing I'd really like us to talk about is youth. So Justin, you seem like the perfect person to wrap up with. Can you share your thoughts on when it comes to the metaverse, when it comes to community development, retention, engagement, when it comes to true value and a decentralized nature where young people don't build Microsoft's empire by building Minecraft, but they start to build their own empire by building things in Sandbox or Centraland or whatever it may be. I just love your insights on that as we get ready to wrap up.
Yeah, first of all, I really like what Zeneca said over there. It's like you never want to be the person shilling to other people, because like I think people seem to think that like shilling is like the best way to bring people to your community. It's really not. You never want to be that guy who told your family members to invest into Luna. I'm sorry for anyone who told their parents that.
Not funny, but
yeah. But it's like, but a lot of people did. It's like a lot of people are basically told their family members to go invest. But in terms of like building, right? it goes back to what I was saying about achievable milestones. I think one of the cool things about the future of Web3 and the creator economy and all of these new things that are coming up is that now more than ever, there's more ways to actually hit achievable milestones for people so that they can incrementally start building rather than like having to skip from like, because you know how like everyone keeps saying that like, oh, Jeff Bezos and like Bill Gates were like self-made millionaires. They really weren't, because they all had like boosters, they all had like big family members supporting them. And unfortunately, that was just one of the realities of the past. The only way you could really make it was by having that sort of generational back-end, generational support. So I think one of the coolest things about all this emerging technology is that now there's actual steps so that people can actually make something for themselves and go from there.
Can we give our panel a hand, everybody? Thank you.
Blockchain Week. See you next year.